In 1991, we were recruiting to replace the executive director of our family planning organization. It was an effective family planning group, but it was just that, and we wanted to make it more. The interesting thing about Debra is that we saw a lot of candidates who were from the community. We saw a lot of candidates who were specialists in family planning, but we had greater ambitions for the program. We wanted to do something that would have a broader effect on the community's health. And Debra got it as soon as she arrived.
So the first time I met Debra, I had come to Sinai to set up a government grants program. I had always been a lobbyist, but I had a 1-year-old and I didn't want to do that and travel. And so they brought me there to do something government related. I went back to being a lobbyist in about 5 minutes. But so Debra had the most potential for government funding. I didn't know her at all. She was, her offices were in a building that can charitably be described as a dump on Western and Lake. It was a Illinois Department of then Public Aid building that had big metal cages and whatever. And so I said, I'm going to come over, meet you, meet the staff, learn about your programs. And Debra said to me, okay, call us when you're leaving because there was a carjacking across the street last week. So I knew this was going to be really important that I show absolutely no fear. This would be very important when I got there, right? And I got there, I went up through this metal cage, I met the staff, I met Debra, and I would say we immediately recognized that we were going to be friends in that moment. And she started walking me through all of the remarkable things she had developed at Sinai.
So when I interviewed at Sinai, Debra was the first person on my full day interview. And when she finished telling me everything that she was doing with the community and everything that SCI was doing, I thought, that's it. I don't have to interview with anybody else because now I really want this job. I want to work with this woman.
Debra is a very special woman. She's someone that is an incredible professional, someone that has dedicated years and years to improving the healthcare matters and needs and disparities that we experience in North Lawndale. And she's someone that is going to stick it out with you. She's also incredibly innovative and creative. One of the things that I love is that she, along with many, many people in the community, actually conceived the idea of creating the North Lawndale Employment Network, but she's had other really cool social enterprise ideas that have helped to improve the quality of life of the people that she serves.
And Debra is that leader that really gives you an opportunity to sink or swim. She gives you what you need and she allows you to learn really at your own pace, but is there to support you through the process. So this journey has been a great journey in the sense of learning and doing, observing and learning more, and giving you that sense of no matter what the task is, you can call her at 10, 11 o'clock if you're still working on it. And she's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about helping you out. So that experience has been great in having that type of support from a manager.
And Debra practiced every day what she believed and she said. So if Debra practiced every day humble, Debra practiced every day her commitment in the community. Debra do everything for her community, but she also invite other communities to be part of her community. And the 5 years that I spent my life at Sinai Community Institute, and my experience with Debra was absolutely great, and I am so thankful. I highly appreciate that opportunity to enrich my life of a great culture.
One of the things Debra gets credit for is surviving not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 CEOs in a leadership position in a challenging and challenged organization. That is no small feat. She was able to do it and continue to stay focused on the kinds of things that SCI did and what led Sinai to develop during my tenure a vision statement of being a national model for the delivery of urban health care.
So the Debra Wesley we met was smart, qualified, but most important, she was passionate about the community. She knew the community. She was a native of the community. She was internally tuned to the community. And she brought with her not only the intelligence required to succeed in this job and the passions required to succeed in the job, but she also had the tenacity to overcome the obstacles of working on a limited budget and turning something small into something large and greater.
You could not find anybody more committed than Debra to not only the North Lawndale community and Marquette Park community with Holy Cross, but Chicago in general. If there was a task force that was important where equity, diversity, social justice was concerned, I knew if I'd go down the list, Debra would be there.
We really worked together both as kind of doing program planning and program development, as well as the actual sort of writing of grants. And then later on, I also worked with her on some advocacy things. But we worked on so many terrific projects, and the reason is Debra's a visionary. So Debra was creating things that nobody else was doing. So it was amazing to work with her on this. One of the things I loved the most was the parenting education project that we worked on. Nobody was doing what she was doing. And we sat around a table with about 10 people. We sat around as people who knew something about the community. We sat around as being parents ourselves. We sat around just really brainstorming. And that project was so exciting to develop because we were developing something that hadn't happened before.
She and I started talking at some point about this whole idea she had about parenting. And so I taught parenting at Chicago Youth Centers, and she had an idea about parenting. So we got together, and ultimately I left Chicago Youth Centers and came to work for her.
I always admire the way that she presents herself and how she shows up. But I also think that she does a lot to empower women. She's mentored so many professional women that are nonprofit executives today, a list that we would all probably be very surprised to see. She's very quiet about it, but she is a force. And I also think, you know, people probably know this too, but she loves being a parent. She loves her children, and she has really hoped to demonstrate sometimes the juggle between being a professional and a single parent mother and raising beautiful children.
Debra is a presence. When Debra Wesley walks in the room, you know Debra Wesley is there.
Being here for this length of time, I really think just shows who she is, right? That dedication to stay put, the keep your foot planted firmly on solid ground, knowing that in the end, what you're doing for people who need it the most.
I would describe her as somebody who embodies love. Love for the community, love for her friends, love for the people who work with her. She lives her ethics all the time. I have never once seen Debra do anything that would compromise what her beliefs were. And she's a generous mentor and a generous teacher. I mean it when I say almost everything I know in terms of what real community work is, I learned from her.
Thank you for continuing to support the needs of the community. Thank you for being a boss who allows for mistakes and a boss who sets you on the right path. thank you for everything that you've done for the community in these past 30 years and hopefully 30 more years to come.
I had a special relationship with her dad who told me, you stay with my daughter now, you pray for her. You pray for her. I said, I promise I will, and I have done that ever since that was a request. And I just thank God for the opportunity to share. And Debra, I wish you God's choicest blessings. I pray that your latter days will be better than your beginning days. And I pray that you will walk with your hand in God's hand all the days of your life. I love you.
Debra, I knew you'd be as good as you are. And I knew you would take a small seed of an idea for a program and turn it into something big. But I never imagined how big you were going to turn the Sinai Community Institute into. The reach into other communities, the reach into other services is just incredible. And aside from that, the fact that you outlasted me and stayed longer than I did, well, I'll forgive you that.